Welcome to portfolio update number 5 in my monthly series where I highlight the other accounts in my portfolio. I started my channel to highlight myself as a beginner, starting from day one, growing my TFSA to maxing that account out and everything that happens after it. But in the meantime, because of my age, I have a bunch of other accounts and I thought it would be important to share those accounts with a monthly update so you can see what's going on in them. Today we're using Passive. Passive is the tool that I use to track all my dividends, all the performance, and all the metrics that are going on inside each account. Check this video out that I'm putting up here on the screen. I talk about what it is and how it works. Now, I'm a Questrade user, so I get to use this for free, but there is a $99 charge if you are not a Questrade user. But guess what? In the video link below, I have a link that you can use and you're gonna get some savings so that you can get started using Passive on your own. If you watched last month's portfolio update, we were sitting at $275,000. Guess what? What a big jump. We're now at $292,670. What a massive change. And this is absolutely the biggest change I've seen in any of my accounts. So let's break down all of the accounts that I have and go through the other ones that I don't highlight, as I mentioned before. All right, looking back at Passive on the main page here at the end of the month we're talking about is September, we can see that we had $26,615 in contributions. This is not correct. Passive has a glitch. When I move money from my cash account over to my Wealthsimple investing accounts, it doesn't register those as a deposit. It only sees them as a transfer, and I don't get credit for it. So unfortunately, that is a bit of a glitch in Passive, but it's the only one that I know of. So I'm getting around that now by depositing my money in my external checking account and then transferring it back. Yes, it does affect some of the monthly interest that I earn in my cash account, but I want to be transparent so that you guys can see it all, how Passive works, and so on and so forth. All right, so if we look over a little bit more at this account, we can see that, like I said, we're at $292,670. All right, so the first account we're going to look at is my spousal account. That's the account that's held with Questrade and allows me to use Passive for free. Questrade's a great platform, but one of the downfalls that I notice in my investing is that it does cost money to invest in single stock positions. And because of that, we use Wealthsimple as our main portfolio or brokerage in order to do investing, because Wealthsimple doesn't charge any fees for any trading. All right, so we're going to start off looking at my spousal account. If you don't know, a spousal account is where I make the contributions and get the tax credit, and the account is in my wife's name, and then she'll draw down that money in retirement. This account's held with Questrade. It's the only account that I do currently have with Questrade, and because of that, I get to use Passive for free, which is actually one of the great bonuses. Now, I do like Questrade as a whole, as a platform, because there are a lot of great metrics built into the platform itself, but the one downside that I don't like is that it does charge fees for every transaction on single stock positions. If you're investing in ETFs, it doesn't. So for now, we're going to hold that. But guess what? Big news this week. I got an email from Wealthsimple that they are going to be trialing spousal accounts, and guess what? Stand by, I'm going to be opening one, so you're going to get to see me start using that account. Now, it does say there could be some bumps along the way, motto of the channel, of course, so we'll see how that goes. All right, looking at the spousal account, we have our asset allocation set up. It is accurate to 78% right now. It is the lowest accuracy that I have of my asset allocation, but that's because a lot of it sits in US funds, and converting funds in Questrade is a bit of a challenge because you have to use Norbert Gamut. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'll put the video up here on the screen. It is an effective way to transfer money from Canadian to US funds, and you'll get savings when you do that as opposed to getting charged 1.5% conversion fees. So check that video out. All right, we currently have $110 sitting in Canadian cash in the account and $18 in US cash. Now, this account is set up with DRIP, but DRIP is only effective when you make enough dividends to purchase one stock position. And that's how Questrade works. With Wealthsimple, you can make fractional buys, but Questrade doesn't allow for that. So what I generally do is I let the money build up if it wasn't reinvested back into the security, and then I direct where that goes. In many cases, it goes back into the same security, effectively like a DRIP, but in some cases it doesn't. So for now, we're going to let those dividends build up, holding a small cash position, and then figure out where that money is going to go. All right, the account's sitting at $78,497. Let's go into it and break it down and look at some of the metrics within that account. So the net contributions to this account were $100. You're probably asking yourself, Darren, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Why only $100? What I'm doing is with my cash account, the one that earns 4.25% interest right now. It was 4.5 in the last video, but the Bank of Canada slashed rates again. Good for people with their mortgages and other loans. Not so great for savings accounts, but hey, that's the game. So I'm earning 4.25% interest in that cash account. That is taxable income. So I take that money and I plop it into the spousal account, effectively giving it to my wife, and I get the tax credit in this tax year. Yes, it's a very small amount. I could probably just ignore that and then whatever tax bill comes at the end of the year, but that really doesn't make sense to me, so this is what I do. So that's why our net contributions this month was only $100. And of course, as that amount changes and fluctuates, that'll be the amount that we see go in there. The only other thing that I put in this account is the tax return at the end of the year. All right, the net change in the account, $2,342. And here you have a graph that shows your contributions. That's the blue line. And then you have the green line, which is the principal growing within that account. The net return on this account, or rate of return right now, is 3.03%. This is just for the month of September. The investment growth, $2,242. And as we scroll down, this is the part that a lot of people are really interested in, is the dividend history. So here on the left side of the screen, this is broken down by each security, so you can see them on the screen, and how much dividends were earned from each. So the total earned in September was $262. The average on the account sits at $285. And of course, as we reinvest and add money, that will continue to grow. Fees and commissions so far this month in September were $0. If you're investing in ETFs in Questrade, you don't get charged anything. So for now, that's generally all I'm investing in, unless I'm going to invest a large amount into a single stock position. Here we have another bar graph at the bottom showing you a bit more detail about each dividend, and you can see that QQQY, sometimes I say that too fast, is the one that's actually paying out the highest dividend. But this particular covered call, which is actually a synthetic covered call, is drawn a lot of attention recently, especially by me, because I'm really worried about what's going on in this, whether or not it's good to keep. So watch this video here that's going to pop up on the screen, because I talk about that particular covered call. All right, so the estimated savings on the account was $10. That would be based on fees. And our total dividends so far in the month, there you can see $275. All right, we're going to jump over the activity tracker and go over the activity that went on in the month. All right, so we had a $100 contribution into the account that came from the Wealthsimple cash account. And of course, we had QQQY pay out $79.57. Now I have QQQY set on drip, so it automatically was reinvested. And you can see here we bought 2 shares at $35 of QQQY. That left over a little bit of money. Now looking down the page, many of my other positions paid out, and most of them are not set on drip. So we can see REI paid out $768, HYLD, the biggest position as far as dividends go, at $51, HYLDU, which is the American version of HYLD, only 43 cents. It's not a very big position right now for me. VRE at $345, O at $605, Google at $1.60. Yes, Google actually does pay a small dividend. Great position to hold. AVUV paid out $10.06, and XEQT at $26.41. Now, when you lump all that back together, looking back up here, you can see I bought 1 share of XEQT, and I bought 1 share of QQQY on top of the reinvestment that had already been done. And of course, lastly we had XEI paid out $41, and that is set on drip as well, as you can see. So it was reinvested for 1 share at $27. And lastly is SVOL that paid out $9.52, and the remaining of the cash is left over. We'll build that up and reinvest that when we have some more cash built up. All right, let's jump over to the next account. All right, so now we're looking at my kids' account. Now, this is actually my wife's TFSA for full transparency. I am in the process of learning about trust accounts because I'd like to open trust accounts for my kids. If you have a trust account, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below and tell me what you think about trust accounts, or if you don't have one, whether you're interested in getting one. I'm still reading up on it to make sure I understand all the ins and outs of these types of accounts, but that is my intent, is to open accounts for them so they have their own investing accounts. But because we have room in my wife's, we're going to use that for now. So again, we have our asset allocation set up. This one's very accurate. I had it set up right from the start, so it's 97%. Now, we're not making huge contributions to this because it is my kids. I'm using it as a tool to teach them. So we don't have any cash sitting in there as of today, and the total account is sitting at $1,713. Let's jump over and look at the activity tracker to see what's going on. All right, so the net contributions to this account is $67. The way the contributions have been working in this account is my wife and I make a contribution every week on the beginning of the week, which is Monday, and it's an increasing amount. So last month it was $20, this month it's $21, and of course next month in October will be $22. Now my kids manage their money with our assistance through their allowance and any other money that they earn. Right now the biggest thing that they're earning is through pop cans. So they help us manage our pop cans and bottles and whatnot to return them. When they help me take them back, they get the money. And then we follow a formula. 20% to investing, 30% to savings, and 50% goes to general revenue. And we'll see that in the activity tracker as far as what they've been doing with their money. So we can see, like I said, $67 was the net contribution to the account. The net change in the account is $103. And the rate of return in the month of September, 2.53%. And the investment growth is $36. Looking down here, it says the average monthly dividends is $4. And when we look at this month, there you go, we had $4 from the positions that actually paid out. 0 fees or commissions. This account is held with Wealthsimple, so we're not getting dinged with any fees or commissions. The estimated savings is 0, obviously, because we don't get charged any. We can see here that XEQT is paid out the most in dividends at $1. So the dividend income for the month, again, $4. We'll jump over to the activity tracker and see what's going on over there. All right, so keep in mind that activity tracker is from the first of the month to the last of the month. So if there was a transaction that took place just the day before the first of the month, you're not going to see that. You'd have to watch my previous month's video. So here we can see that on the first 2 buys were right after the beginning, or the end of the month. So that was money that was contributed just before the first of the month here. So we bought XEI. That would be a dividend reinvestment because that one pays out right at the end of the month. And then we made our contribution of $21 and we had 35 cents left over. So we invested that as a fractional share in ZSP. Then we went ahead and got HYLD paid out, and that was reinvested again. That was only 74 cents. All right, in the next one, we can see here that there's a $2 contribution and 23. That's those pop bottles, or if it had been any other money that my kids had earned, that would be that money going in there. So what we did is we added that together. We got 2501 and we bought 1 fractional share of XEQT. And I'm using that asset allocation to make the decisions as to where to buy and roping the kids in to learn about that. We had interest payout of 6 cents and 1 cent. That is stock lending. So my stocks are being loaned out and then I get a small compensation for loaning them out. Clearly it's not very much, but anything will do to help grow the account. All right, so we had Plaza REIT pay out a dividend of 31 cents. But because it's on stock lending, when you look in here, you're going to see 2 different buys. And that's because they manufacture a dividend. So the total purchase was 19 cents and 31 cents reinvested as a fractional buyback into Plaza REIT. Manulife paid out 42 cents, which was then dripped right back in. Then we made our next weekly contribution of $21 and we bought 1 fractional share of ZSP. If you don't know, ZSP is an S&P 500 fund. Then we went ahead and we had XEQT pay out $1.46 and as well as XEI at $1.05. And of course, both of those are on drip, so they were reinvested right back into those 2 securities. And then of course, you can see that we had a fractional buy because we had a contribution of $21 back into ZSP. So that wraps up the kids TFSA for the month. Let's jump over to the last account. All right, so the last account is my wife's RRSP. It is the largest account that we have, But of course, it was established long before I started investing. So this account's sitting at 83% accuracy with the asset allocation. So we're creeping up there, but again, we're not making any contributions right now to this account. So it's only the dividends that are getting reinvested as far as any contributions and then balancing that asset allocation. So we have 1 cent in there in Canadian funds and 3 cents in US. That's just left over from some of the fractional buys where the price changes when it's making the purchase, so really nothing to invest. The total account's sitting at $153,667. Let's jump over to the activity tracker and see what's going on in there, because there is one change that got made in this account. All right, so you can see here that the net contributions in this account are $0. Makes sense, we're not making any contributions right now. All right, the net change in the account, $3,226. The rate of return, 2.23%. Keep in mind, again, this is just for the month of September. Investment growth, $3,226. And the part that everybody wants to see is the dividends. So for the month of September, this account earned $387 in dividends. The average on this account, and keep in mind that some pay out every half year, some pay out on the quarter, and some pay out every month. The average dividends earned on the account are $530. So effectively, each month, this account is growing by $530. Now, it's not money in your pocket, but it is compounding over time, so it is important as you see the account grow. 0 commissions and fees. Again, simple account, so there's nothing charged. Estimated savings, 0, because we're not getting charged anything. Let's jump over to the activity tracker and see what's going on there. All right, into the activity tracker here, we can see that Canadian Utilities paid out $7.81. XEI, we bought $58. Now, that is from the previous month because it pays out at the end of the month, as I mentioned in the kids' portfolio. So there we have a reinvestment. Walmart paid out $9.99, and of course, we can see that money got reinvested right back into the security. And there is the reinvestment of the Canadian Utilities. So what happened here is it paid out on the 3rd of September, but the reinvestment didn't happen until the 5th. That's just the way it works. I would have to do it manually, I guess, if I wanted it to happen sooner. I'm a bit of a robot when it comes to that, so I don't want to do that. We'll just let it do it on its own. All right, so then YTSL, that one paid out $68.36. Again, covered call, that's why the dividend is so high. So we're not seeing any growth in this particular fund. In fact, it's probably one of the worst performing positions I have because it's a covered call based on Tesla, which is a very volatile stock. All right, so QQQY paid out $35.48, which then was reinvested. And there's our Tesla reinvestment that we saw from the dividend. REI paid out $20.78, HYLD $31.15, and of course, both of those reinvested. HYLD paid out $11.53, and a reinvestment again. VRE $1.11 and reinvested. All right. So here we have the big change that I made in this account. So you can see it right here, and it'll be highlighted when you guys are watching this. Canadian Utilities. I sold the entire position off for a total of $619. I bought this position when I first started in April of 2023. Again, if you've listened to some of my other videos, you hear me talk about taking the shotgun approach, which is another reason I started my channel, because I wanted to be able to help others. This position has not performed very well. Now, if I had hung on to it, say, another 5 years, maybe it would, but I didn't like this position. It wasn't performing well, and it was very small. So what I did is I sold it and put it into something that I think will perform much better. So you can see what I did is I took the money at $619. I converted those funds to US funds, ending up with $447, and then took that money and I bought a fractional share of VU. VU is a pretty expensive share price, being the S&P 500. It's $515, so I didn't quite have enough, but we bought almost 3/4 of a share to increase our position in VU, and I think that will perform really well. I also had a little bit of money left over from something else, and so I invested that into AVDV. And then scrolling down, we had SRU pay out $3.30, Plazaria at $1.14, once again reinvested right back in. And we can see here that we had $41.20 from AVUV payout, totally reinvested back into the position. XEI paid out $58.42, XEQT, $34.75. CNR, a new position that I added to my TFSA, so jump over and check that video out if you want to see why I added that. And I do hold it in these other accounts. So once again, CNR paid out $23.78, reinvested. ATD, Allemand Couche-Tard, paid out $4.21, also reinvested. SCHD, that paid out $49.56. There's some big news with SCHD if you hold it, and I'm going to be doing a video on it, so stand by for that. 43.11 from SVOL, and again, all of this reinvested right back into all this stuff. All right, if you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with your friends, because that's how we're going to get the message out to other beginners. By watching this, you're helping the hours grow and getting the channel to grow bigger. 891 subscribers to date, which is absolutely amazing. We're so close to that 1,000 subscriber mark. I cannot wait to get there. If you want to get started using Wealthsimple, check out the link on the screen. It'll help you get started and put some money in your account to get you started investing. And if you don't know where to start and you're looking for tips to get started investing, you should make sure that you go over to Blossom Social, where you'll find my portfolio and you can watch me make my trades live. If you also want to learn tips, watch this video right here.